Jerusalem did not welcome the Knights Templar. When they arrived in the early 12th century, they did not come as conquerors. They came quietly, poorly equipped, barely armored. There were only 9 of them at first, too few to be a real military force, too few to matter in the politics of Crusader kingdoms. And yet, they were given something no other order received. They were given the Temple Mount, not a barracks, not a fortress wall, but the most sensitive ground in the city. The place where the Bible says God once dwelled among men, the place where no king ruled lightly, the place where no one dug. To understand why the Knights Templar matter in Jerusalem, one must first understand what kind of order they were and what kind they were not. The Knights Templar were not founded as conquerors, and they were not created to expand territory. They emerged in the aftermath of the First Crusade, at a time when Jerusalem had already fallen into Christian hands. The war officially was over, but the danger was not. Pilgrims began arriving in large numbers, traveling long and exposed roads between the Mediterranean coast and the Holy City. Bandits, remnants of defeated armies, and lawless regions made these journeys deadly. It was in this unstable environment that a small group of knights approached the newly established Christian authorities in Jerusalem with a proposal that seemed at first modest. They would take monastic vows. They would live as monks, but they would fight as soldiers. This was unprecedented. Until then, monks prayed and soldiers killed, but never both. The idea of combining religious devotion with sanctioned violence was controversial, even dangerous. Yet it was approved. In 1119, 9 knights formally founded an order called the Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ and of the Temple of Solomon. The name itself is revealing. They did not call themselves defenders of Jerusalem. They did not name themselves after a saint or a battlefield. They tied their identity directly to the Temple of Solomon, a structure that, by their time, no longer existed above ground. Rather than being housed in a fortress or monastery, the Templars were granted residence on the Temple Mount itself. Specifically, they were given quarters in a building believed to stand atop the remains of Solomon's Temple, a location already charged with theological sensitivity. This structure would later be known as the Temple of Solomon by Christians, though it was part of the broader Temple Mount complex. This decision alone is extraordinary. The Temple Mount was not ordinary land. It was sacred, contested, and feared. According to biblical tradition, it was the place where God's presence had once dwelled among humanity and where access had always been tightly controlled. And yet this small, newly formed order was allowed not only to reside there, but to remain undisturbed for years. During this early period, something curious happened. The Templars did not behave like a typical military order. They did not expand aggressively. They did not campaign widely. They did not rush to recruit large numbers. Instead, they stayed. They lived communally. They followed strict rules, and they remained concentrated in Jerusalem. For nearly a decade, officially their task was simple: protect Christian pilgrims traveling to Jerusalem. But the historical record becomes uncomfortable almost immediately. For nearly a decade after their arrival, the Templars did not patrol roads in any meaningful way. They did not fight major battles. They did not expand their numbers quickly. Instead, they stayed in one place. They lived inside what was known then as the Temple of Solomon, a structure built atop the ruins of the ancient Jewish temple, now part of the Temple Mount complex. And beneath it, there were tunnels, chambers, collapsed passageways sealed by centuries of debris. The Templars did not speak about them, but they were there. The Temple Mount is not merely a religious site, it is a layered place. Built, destroyed, rebuilt, and buried again. According to the Hebrew scriptures, this was where Solomon built the first temple, a structure not meant to be impressive by human standards, but dangerous in a different way. The Bible describes it as a place where the boundary between heaven and earth thinned. Only one man, the high priest, was allowed to enter its inner chamber, only once a year, and only with blood. The Ark of the Covenant was said to rest there. After the Babylonian conquest, the Ark disappeared. The second temple was built without it, and when that temple was destroyed by Rome, the mountain fell silent, or so it seemed. The Knights Templar took vows of poverty, they ate simply, they dressed plainly. Yet after their years on the Temple Mount, something changed. When they left Jerusalem, they were no longer poor. Within decades, they became the wealthiest organization in Christendom. Kings borrowed from them, popes relied on them. Their network stretched from England to the Holy Land. No chronicle explains this transformation. There is no record of treasure shipments from Jerusalem, no inventory of relics found, no confession, only a gap. And gaps are dangerous things in history. We know, this much is undeniable, that the Templars conducted extensive construction beneath their headquarters. Later surveys revealed block tunnels, artificial chambers, and deep excavations dating to the Crusader period. But no documents describe their purpose, which raises an uncomfortable question. Why would an order devoted to military protection spend years underground? They were not archaeologists. They were not engineers. They were monks with swords. And yet they behaved like men searching for something specific. The church never celebrated the Templars' work in Jerusalem. There are no sermons praising their discoveries, no theological writings discussing what they found, no papal declarations explaining their role on the Mount. Instead, centuries later, the church would accuse them of heresy, of secret rituals, of forbidden knowledge, of worship that did not belong within Orthodox belief. The charges were vague, disturbingly vague, almost as if the details were dangerous to speak aloud. When the Templars were destroyed, it happened suddenly. Not after war, not after rebellion, but after accusation. They were arrested in a single coordinated strike across Europe. Their leaders were interrogated, their property seized, and their secrets? If they existed, they did not surface. The order died without defending itself properly, as if defense would require explanation, and explanation would require revelation. The fear in the Templar story does not come from monsters or curses. It comes from absence, from the fact that they were placed on the most sacred ground in Jerusalem. They spent years beneath it. They emerged transformed, and then vanished without telling anyone why. The Temple Mount remains sealed today. Its underground structures are politically untouchable. No full excavation has ever been allowed. Whatever lies beneath it remains where it is, unseen, unverified, uncorrected. The Bible repeatedly treats sacred space as volatile, not comforting, not safe. The temple was not a symbol of peace. It was a containment site, a place where rules were strict because consequences were severe. If the Templars went beneath it, then they were not merely exploring ruins. They were entering a space the scriptures treat with fear, and history responded accordingly. The Knights Templar did not disappear because they lost power. They disappeared because some things, once uncovered, cannot be integrated into the world that finds them. And the Temple Mount still stands, unmoved, waiting.